welcome back. So today, what I wanted to share with you guys is my Digging Deeper with series. So this is the first video where I take a deep dive on a certain plant or something like drip tubing, fertilizing, things that get kind of glossed over and don't really get talked about, so we can go more in depth on the information that's out there and kind of have it all in one spot. So today what we're doing is my favorite tree of all time is the Podocarpus elongatus, which I have one right here. My absolute hands down favorite tree. It's also known as the glacier blue Podocarpus, the blue ice Podocarpus, or what I usually refer to it as, the trademarked version from Monrovia, the icy blue yellowwood Podocarpus. So I always reference it as the icy blue. I do, all the ones that I have purchased are the Monrovia ones, so I can call it the icy blue. So let's go ahead and get into those details. So the Podocarpus elongatus, also known as icy blue, is rated for zones 9 to 11. There have been some studies shown that it can go down to 7B with some winter protection. Basically, it just doesn't like harsh winters. It doesn't like to be under 20 degrees. It will handle short bursts of about 25 degrees, which I believe here in my zone 9B, we typically don't get any colder than that, and a 25-degree night is very, very, I don't think we ever really truly get that cold. I typically on our coldest month, I guess, in winter is a morning time about 30, and that's few and far. So as long as you're keeping it protected, you can even put it in a pot and overwinter it, say in a garage or somewhere warm where you can kind of keep it protected, would be a good option if you did really want this tree and didn't really have the right zone. So the Podocarpus elongatus is a slow-growing evergreen conifer, which in my experience, I have not noticed that it's been slow growing. We planted ours within the last 2 and 3 years. And this tree probably came up to about here when we planted it. So just in 2 seasons, it's grown a lot. So I've been very happy with its growth rate. I don't want anything that's going to grow super fast because right here I do like that structure and I don't want anything to get too big. It is a slow growing evergreen, growing about 10 to 12 inches per year. And typically at maturity, it's going to be 15 to 25 feet tall and wide. Though at 10 years, the average height is about 10 to 12 feet and about 4 to 5 feet wide. So these trees like full sun to part sun and will tolerate some shade. They do want to have some sun though to keep that nice, beautiful green blue color. They do like well-draining soil that is slightly acidic. So over here in my sandy soil, I do use hollytone because it tends to be a little more acidic, and I use that in the early spring before the new growth emerges. So this tree is known for its silvery blue, icy color, and it is just a showstopper. Monrovia actually says that it is the first Podocarpus with this distinctive color. I honestly agree. I have not seen anything with this type of structure, with this type of leaf shape in this color. And it's just absolutely beautiful, and it's so easy to take care of. And the cool thing about this tree is it's actually from South Africa, where it grows in riverbeds, in the rocky kind of banks, and it's known there. It's actually their national tree, so it's protected over there. And so that's really interesting because in their dry heat spells, where there's not a lot of water, the roots are going to dig down deep and find some of that residual moisture, and that's how it keeps its healthy, happy growth. So therefore, it makes it very drought tolerant, which I will, I can actually account for. I have some over in my more shaded area garden. And so it's a newer garden that I've been developing. I added our drip tubing to it, but I never actually plugged it in. So the tree actually went from, I planted it in late April. So it went April, May, June, and just recently, early July, I noticed that it started, the tips, the inner part of the leaf structure started turning brown, which this tree doesn't typically shed. So when I noticed that, and I felt it was kind of crispy and the area of the dirt was very dry, I realized I hadn't added drip. So it's amazing that it took that long to actually show signs of struggle. I'll show you guys in a little bit, but it's I'm trying to recover it because it is such a great tree, and I want to see how I can rehab it and show you guys that if if you ever make a mistake like me, there is a solution, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to get rid of the tree. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. So speaking of the leaves, this tree has a really interesting leaf structure. They're about 2 inches long and about 3/8 inches wide. So they're very narrow and long. And speaking of them being an evergreen conifer, though they are labeled as a conifer, some of the older varieties do produce fruit and seed pods known as the cones. These newer varieties are more sterile, so they don't produce cones. But one of the interesting facts about Podocarpus is podo meaning foot and carpus meaning fruit. It's pertaining to the shape of the fruit, so a foot shaped fruit. So that's where Podocarpus gets its name. But fortunately, these don't produce the fruit or the cones. Although the cones I would be okay with, maybe the fruit not so much. But I am really happy with the fact that it doesn't shed leaves, and it's a very tidy tree. Unlike my son, who is like a tornado. So at least I have something in my life that's not creating a mess. So like I said, it is commonly used as a specimen tree. It can be used as a screening hedge, which I think would be absolutely stunning, having them just all lined up. I love this tree. I feel like I could put it everywhere, and I'm constantly thinking, where else can I put one of these trees? I'm constantly like, I could put one here, I could put one here. I just love it. They're so easy to take care of. They're very disease resistant. They're deer resistant, though they do have a slight toxicity to pets. Though my studies have found that dogs typically do not like to chew on these, so this is not a favorite plant, or it is not a plant that really has a lot of concern. I've been a vet tech for over 20 years, and I have never seen a Podocarpus toxicity. So, so go ahead and plant away with your furry babies, and as long as they're not chewing on it, it should be just fine. So you can see where some of that heat stress from no water, where it's made the leaves turn brown and a little bit crispy. They still have a lot of flexibility to them. There's still quite a bit of this soft, flexible green growth. And then when we're scratching the bark, you can still see it's very much alive. I do need to restake this because I don't want this to strangle it. And now that it's pretty stressed, I'm going to restake this a little better, get some drip on it. So I'll show you guys how I do that as well. I have to run to the store to get more of the drip. But for now, I've been hand watering this every night, giving it a really deep soak. I think this is going to rebound just fine. I actually went to the store yesterday looking for a replacement, and they were out because, you know, it's a very popular tree. So I'm glad they were, because I took it as a sign that I should rehab this, and I think it's going to come back and look just great. This one over here also is not on drip, but is doing much better, but this one typically has more shade. We'll get drip on this as well, but I think these are going to do just fine. Just one of the great things about this tree is that it is very drought tolerant, even extreme where it doesn't have any water. So the only thing I can think of is we do have this rose, and this rose is 100% on drip. So I think whatever the water from below, these roots are digging down, and just like they do in South Africa, which is pretty amazing. So I am pretty impressed, I will say. All right, so I have the 1/4 inch emitting tubing. It's emitting every 6 inches. I thought the more would be better for this tree since it's been struggling. So we're gonna go ahead and take care of that. Normally I would run the black poly here, but I'm just going to use the black, I'm just going to use the brown just straight on, so it'll be okay. So I've got my coupler. And then I forgot to get my little hole puncher, but this is actually fairly easy to just punch in. So I want to make sure I want to go around a couple times. Go ahead and cut that there. I'm going to add my ender. Actually, yeah. So I'll just need to get some landscape staples to stake it down. Got my little light. All right, I think we're in business. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit about my favorite tree, the Podocarpus elongatus, also known as the icy blue or glacier blue Podocarpus. I think it's just a gorgeous tree, and you will not be disappointed if you had it in your garden. So thank you all so much for watching, and thank you for letting me share a little piece of my garden. Bye!